through the magic of the Cybernet Space Cube, the computer-enhanced podcast of the future. Transformers Slag Podcast. What's up, everybody? How we all doing this end of year Saturday night? It's the Transformers Slag Podcast, our livestream main event. I'm your host, Protoman. I'm joined with a special guest today. Jaws D couldn't be with us. He'll be with us tomorrow. Hey, Aaron, how you doing?
I'm good. Happy to be here.
Awesomeness. And Aaron's also in the chat. So we're gonna talk some Transformers. We got some news that dropped today. We'll cover some of the small little amount of news that we had this week. We'll talk about what we got over the holidays, if we got anything, what we're looking forward to next year. Just, stuff to be thankful about that we had this year and all the cool memories. Just kind of a wrap up of this year, stuff that we had fun with at cons and things that we did. And we'll take, obviously, questions from the audience. I'm sure everyone's hyped. We got a lot of green names today. Oh my God, so many to read. It's going to be a nutty one. And we also have some stuff that we're going to be revealing today. Some cool stuff to talk about, too. Just a whole bunch of things. So first, who's in the chat? Jeez, we got a lot. We got Transformatics. We got James Hopkins. We got T-Formers 2002. Fawnheart 2000. Havoc. Michael Koo. Patrick Brown. Mike 21. Orlando Chavez. Roman Schilling. Horned Owl. Patrick Brown, I already said. James Hopkins. We got Bigum, we got Tom Laney, we got Rodimus Power, we got Titan Paul, Titus Paul, Transformatics, I think I already said, Ashnud, Alberto, Talib, more people coming in, Elijah, apologize if I miss anybody, Snell's World, there's a lot of people, a lot of members over I think we're at 200 to 350 members, probably more by the end of this day. Time of the end, what's up? So, let's talk the news. Before it, just want to cover at the top of the news. Last month we had a problem here in Canada with Canada Post. All of the Patreon packages were not able to go out because they were on strike for a month. Once again, don't always wish to have some of the Canadian government run things. But the point being is the packages have been shipped out. So people that did order through me, their TFCon exclusive little Pokemon Transformer stuff, they are in the mail as of last Friday or so, and hopefully they'll be arriving very, very soon. So just wanted to put that off at the top. Let's get through the news quickly. I don't want to keep you guys waiting. We only have 3 pieces of news today. The first thing we're going to be covering is that of Blockies. Their Weibo social media website just posted some teasers of what is going to be Wave 6 of the Blockies, and no biggie on stuff. We got a Sunstreaker, we got a IDW Optimus, we got an IDW Megatron, we got some stuff that we saw at the Cybertron Con, like the swoop that's in the robot mode, the Wheeljack, Shatterglass Ratchet, because might as well just use the tooling since it's there and do something with it. Dirge, so they're probably going to be doing more cone heads, and of course we're also going to probably see more of the Insecticons now that we have a kickback here. Obviously we're just missing one of the 9 of that case. It's probably going to be a robot mode of the swoop. If history has proved anything, how Blockies does their stuff, they always pair them together. And the chase figure, we don't know, but probably some metallic repaint of something or something. Time of the end, by the way, Protoman, thank you for the G1 bombshell. No problem. Thank Mikey and Louie, too. They're the ones who send out the packages for me for the American fans, because otherwise I'd be taking a bath if I had to ship all of that. So thank them, too. Next piece of news, not too much of a big one. It's Earthspark related, so we got some Earthspark stuff. Smash Changers. I mean, I pulled mine out here. I mean, I don't know. We're at this point now that the line is pretty much at the end with Smash Changers. I don't know who this is for. People, the fans of Earthspark weren't buying the gimmick-based stuff to begin with. A lot of it was on clearance. Obviously, the children that it's aimed at are disinterested. So for more of this to come out, sure, okay. See you in clearance later, or I don't know, dead stock at Ollie's at some point. I don't know who this is for because it's not for the youngins, it's not for the completists, it's not for the older guys, it's not aimed at the older guys. It's like I said in my individual segment, less is more sometimes, and this is too much in my opinion. And last but not least, we got the big drop today. Evan on the Instagram account of Transformers and Hasbro Pulse showed there is still some life in those old tooling from that more John Warden era of Titan classes. And they're going to be taking that 2017 Triptychon and they're going to be given a more screen accurate, show accurate kind of deco coloring. It's the same tooling more or less. The only thing that perplexes me is the choice of pink. I'm assuming this is an EP2 and maybe the purple is just kind of off in this shot. That's what I'm going to assume. And then maybe the final will just look more darker purple in the end. From a business standpoint, I busted one of these out just to the fact that they're going back. I have this, and maybe Aaron could chime in on this. I never understood super fancy packaging for direct to market kind of stuff, especially when it's like big box. Like this is what a Hasbro Gen Selects box was. Very nondescript, very simple. You know, there was nothing to them. If anything, today it would have been a cardboard insert instead of a plastic one. And they're doing like a big, and keep in mind it's a Titan class, it's going to be a big box, big fancy box with the gloss and everything. uh I don't know. And considering that already, how much is that Titan going to cost? Because that's the price. Like the pricing back then for 2017 is different than today for plastic. How much is that going to cost now? Because we already live in a different world of smaller Titan classes and smaller price points. Is this going to be a $200 item? They're obviously going all out on the box too. So is that going to add to the value? Because they're going from the typical Gen Selects items that are that corrugated cardboard, and now it's a fancy gloss with chrome and everything on it. I don't know. What is your thoughts on that? Like, how much of a difference does that make?
The packaging,
Yeah, because like
yeah,
again,
quite. I mean, it can be quite a bit. Um,
because this is what it was before. you know? And I actually kind of liked this only because again, it's because I from the business side of it, it makes sense because look, you're just shipping this out. Especially if you have like partners and stuff like Amazon's, like this is perfect. They love this. Just throw a
yeah,
printed,
for a particular type of item, that's perfect.
and to me, if you told me, and it goes back to what I would say with the HasLab items, like when they did HasLab Unicron, they weren't messing around. They made a simple corrugated cardboard box that had the Unicron on it, but within that corrugated cardboard, you know, and it was no different than the quality of something if you ordered a washing machine. Maybe in a washing machine probably even be more impressive if it was Maytag. And
Yeah,
they were smart to do that because
it looks like it has that metallic substrate, right?
yeah,
That's some sort of, so that alone is little more than cardboard. Um,
exactly.
then they paid an illustrator to illustrate it, so they're printing that and have to have good registration and all that jazz. So it definitely adds a believe it or not. I mean, I think we've discussed this over the years, but
Yeah,
packaging can be up to plus 50% of the price.
yeah. Well, and
So
especially
if you
it's a
think of
big
how
item.
special that looks, yeah, it can be more and more and more.
It's a big item, so, like, to secure it down, and they went from, "Oh, hey, we're environmentally friendly," to now they don't care. So, the flip side of that is if they're not gonna be like, before it used to be like card I wish I had an example, but like a cardboard inlay, and now they're like, "No, we're back to windows, we're back to plastic trays, like, we're gonna do whatever doesn't get us robbed in retail." But when it's a non-retail product, I mean, I don't care. Like I get it. I get it if it's a retail product. You got to have the cross sell on the back and sell it to the mom. And it makes sense for something, like
Yeah,
obviously this is a bad example because this is more of a throwback item. So packaging is important, even if it's a direct market thing. But in general, like, I mean, I
if
don't
you
know.
don't need to attract buyers on the shelf, then you don't have to put all those bells and whistles on it if you want to make it affordable,
Yeah.
right? The reason you do, chrome and metallics and inserts and stickers and blasts about, new, is to get somebody to go, oh, let me look at this. But if you have a somewhat known audience, particularly for the the higher end pulse stuff, you probably don't need all that bells and whistles. I mean, I go back to my his tank and I look at that box and I'm like, it's a great box, it's a great box, but I'm not displaying the box, so it's just
Unless
kind
you
of
need
like,
a coffee table, you
yeah,
know,
and I feel
like
bad if I throw it away. So now I'm storing two things, right? An active toy and then a box,
an empty
and we all
box.
do it. We all do it, and it is weird. If it was just a cardboard box, maybe I'd be more open to just throwing it away, right? Um,
It says Aaron's volume is too low. Hold on a second, guys. Let me see if I could crank that up a bit. Aaron, just say something. I want to make sure your audio is. No, it's at the
Giddy up.
yeah, it's at full max, guys. I don't know. I don't know. I could hear Aaron great. Everyone
All
should be
right,
able to.
I just
But
turned mine up a little bit, so we'll see.
it's something where I mean, especially to me, it's if you could like when you're talking a smaller item, okay, I'm not going to complain if they make a little bit of a fancier packaging. But when you're talking stuff that's it's such a typhoon of things because it's an item that number one, oh man, someone just gifted another 50 subs. Good Lord. Um it's something where,
And
you know,
Ninjatron is still not one of them.
oh, I swear to God if he is. Are you there, Dylan? We need to double check this. Well, Larry got one, so that's at least one that's got. Um, Larry was at. But the point is that you know, oh man, this is gonna be going for the next bit. But it's something where if it's a small item, it's not a big deal to me. But when you have a big item, it just adds to it. And then it's an item that has had history of having a shaky selling history because I just did it in my individual segment. Triptychon, when he first came out in 2017, $150, and then he ended up in Ollie's, and then he was $50, and then Ollie's had so many of them, he was 39, 19, 12.99, and at that point, at 12.99, I'm just going like, is anyone making money, or
So
is
that's a big item. I wonder if Hasbro lost a partner or something on that item, because I mean, it's a good item, and for $150, I think it was still worth that.
I bought it that, yeah.
And so to hear the story, we can talk about the Transquitos and all the different terrible items that deserve to be peg warmers. This one's kind of a weird one that so many of them went so far down the price chain, that I think that they must have had to dump them. It wasn't a popularity thing. It was like a partner disappeared on them or
It's
something.
it's a strong possibility. One of the rumors that I heard for years, because it's very rare that you see two Titans in I guess a segmentation, and you had Titans Returns Fortress Maximus, which was a Titan, and then you had this Triptychon, and there was also a Triptychon, I guess, like poster that was being sold at San Diego Comic-Con. Maybe it was supposed to be an SDCC item, and then it got dropped. That is a possibility.
Mm.
There was like a poster that was supposed to like fold into like a cereal box or something. So I do not
Yeah.
know.
Huh.
I do not know. We got a super chat from Snell's World. I have three Triptychons: the LG43, which is the Legends version, the Platinum version, which was a G1 reissue, G1 Triptychon, Gigatron, Planet X, Apocalypse. Geez, you got them all here. And you'll be picking up two of these. Well, someone likes their Triptychons, so I mean, look, I don't hate it. It's just that it was something that has a history of being price sensitive, and because it's price sensitive already in the past, and maybe all those people bought it at $12. And I mean, if you bought it at $12 or $15 or $19 or $40, are you going to buy it at the modern $200? Are you going to buy it at 250 if that extra packaging adds to that too? You know,
Yeah.
it's a weird one. It's a
It
very,
is
very
weird.
weird one.
It is weird.
And again, it's me like I guess I'm reading too much into it. You know, Aaron's mic is practically not on. What is going on?
Yeah, I don't know. I've cranked mine up. I'm trying to eat the mic now, so we'll
Let me see.
see if that makes a difference.
That's very weird. But you know, at the end of the day, it's like we'll see what happens with it. I mean, I think like, and I've said this before. I'm very curious to see what their Q4 is, like how their performance was, because during the holidays, going to like I again Canadian thing, Boxing Day, which is our version of Black Friday. I didn't see a lot of people buying Transformers. People like kids are buying Lego, kids are buying Pokemon cards. Those seem to be the two really big hit items for girls. Those was Schmoshmallows, whatever they're called there. Those seem to be doing well too. But audio issue probably coming from the streaming app. Maybe that's. Let me see on my end. I thought I had everything good because I've done this before with no issues. No, Aaron's volume is cranked to the max, yo.
Yeah,
I don't know. I do not, and I hear him great too.
I
So it's
got
very
mine
weird.
cranked here.
Cranking. Alden Tolbert with the $2 super chat. I hope you guys have a great holiday. Got tidal wave. Fantastic. But yeah, I'll talk about some little things here and there I might have got. I don't really do the Christmas thing that much, but might as well just get into that before we get into like sponsors and stuff. And if you guys want to talk more about Triptychon, we'll gladly answer those. But I didn't get much. Just little things here and there. I actually wait for after Christmas to buy Christmas ornaments, and this was the only one I kind of wanted. They did a Oregon Trail one, so I'll buy that at 50% off because I'm an old DOS PC gaming guy. And then when I went to one of my comic shops, he was doing 50% off on all loose toys, and most of the stuff didn't need, but he had a Rock Lord, and I wasn't gonna pay 40 for it, but I'll definitely pay 20. So that's the only other thing I got really. When you buy so much throughout the year, what is Christmas? What is New Year's? What is all of this? So some people say they hear Aaron fine. That's weird. That is very weird, guys. Maybe it's what you're watching it on. Very, very weird. Proto, hope you had a good week. Thank you, Fat Skipper. Are they going to make a pink brunt? I don't know. That's the thing too I was talking about before is, you know, they did a, I call it a DLC item. They did a side item that was supposed to be a companion piece for Triptychon and Brunt and Siege, and that's like a dark purple. And now it's like, well, that's not going to work with this one here because this one's pink with instead of being purple. But again, maybe like I said, maybe it's just the EP. Maybe it's just an early version that Evan was showing off, and the final version will be later.
Those pinks and purples are hard to tune in at first.
Yeah, it's possible. It's very possible because I can't imagine them intentionally. Yeah, see, some people saying Aaron's audio is great. I don't know. Maybe it's people's individual devices because that sounds good for me. Sounds good for me. But we'll talk some other cool stuff too because Aaron's got a little thing that he's working on the side. So obviously you guys know that we also do the Toy Armada, which is another podcast that we do together. That's kind of Aaron's dumping ground of his history within the toy industry, whether it be Batman or Aliens or Total Justice, Night Force Ninjas, and I mean there's some robots in disguise in there too. I that Beyblade segment I really liked doing. That was a good one. We have to do stuff with Steve more in the future. Um, but yeah, so Aaron, for a while now, we've been talking about. Uh, maybe I'm gonna wait until all this ends. All these, too many of these memberships that join. I'll wait till it dies down. But so Aaron's working on a Patreon right now, and I'll just kind of show you guys here on the screen a little bit. So Aaron's been working on a Patreon. It's going to be patreon.com/Toy Armada. Uh, there's a lot of different tiers that he has here. A lot of them are going to have goodies that are pretty rare stuff. Like, let me just blow it up here. So, Aaron, what are some of the tiers here with your Patreon that you're kind of working on?
Well, I'm trying to bring a couple of different things. Trying to give some of the little cool ephemera from my office and my time in the real toy company world. But then I'm also sharing art and getting more into the creative space on some of the tiers where we can brainstorm, have back behind the scenes. I'll show stuff behind a paywall that I otherwise would not show on a uh, normal platform. Get behind the scenes on various images and plans. Um, so we're talking it through, and that's what's there. So I'm curious too what people might be interested in as well. And I'm going to add a few more tiers that are more specifically higher end art related, but that's not the basic plan.
Yeah, essentially, what Aaron's planning to do something is something that's a little more of a it's a Patreon, but it's also kind of a monthly subscription thing where you'll get a little something something in the mail every month depending on what tier you're part of. And I mean, like, just show some cool items that like you're thinking of including in, like, let's say some of the more higher tier boxes and stuff. Like, it's really like Hasbro history stuff, if anything.
So the higher tier, you get the welcome kit, and there's only 9 of these. Um, Vintage folder, some if you remember the Hall of Fame things.
That's cool. That's really cool. That
And
in
then
all honesty, there's probably
this is the
may
year, yeah.
how
Chris
which year
Latta went in.
what year is that one? That's
That's the second one, I
so
believe, or third.
2011. Yeah. So those there's probably only maybe 2000 of those that exist at
Yeah, this is
max.
the third annual, 12.
Okay. 12, okay. So that was not the West Coast one. I think that was Texas. Um,
Yeah.
does it say on there? Yeah, it was Texas. Yeah, that was at the Metroplex. That's what they literally called it. Um, but yeah, like I mean, those things are rare as hell. Like if you only have to go to the Hall of Fame dinner to get that stuff, you know.
And
So
then I got old Kenner memo, or well, I had it at Kenner, but it's Hasbro memo paper. I'll do an original quick little sketch of probably Optimus in all the packs. Everybody will get a old business card from my Hasbro days at Cincinnati. That kind of thing. Stuff you otherwise can't find, or was is old enough that you probably can't track down at this point.
everything is over
Um,
20 years old at this point, especially.
yeah, and that's at the at a higher tier, someone who obviously is more of a collector and a historian of what's gone on in the last 40 years and 30 years of my toy career, if you can believe that.
Mm.
Um, and so there's that digital downloads of art every month on most of the tiers. Again, a chance to interact and all that kind of stuff. But I'm really excited about adding this at least an hour a week, if not more, of kind of how content creation is made, character creation is made, getting insights from other people, introducing things that have influenced me with the book reviews. Kind of all falls into that brainstorm session. But bringing something beyond direct toys, but how do you get to the toys is what I want to start using my expertise and knowledge on.
Well, especially too because you know what I like about Patreon is it gives people an opportunity to be able to directly contact content creators. Like the one thing I always wish that YouTube kind of had was a way that we could private message people if you're part of like, some kind of membership thing. So Patreon gives that opportunity. So if people want to be able to contact you and they have questions about, creating toys, the industry or stuff like that, they'll have that opportunity through Patreon. And again, depending on the tiers, I'll just put up the all the different ones that we have here. But you have different tiers of different levels,
Yeah,
everything has it.
one of the things I'm doing at what I'm calling a deluxe tier and up is you also get a digital download of the volume 1 sketchbook.
Mm.
So that's so
Which has
trying to
been
bring
retired for a while now.
trying to
That
give
one.
some value of things I have and that sort of thing. So it's more than just more lives. It's a little bit of
And
everything.
it's a work in progress. We'll figure out other stuff, if there's something that you'd be interested in seeing kind of as an exclusive kind of thing to the Patreon, be sure to let us know. Like, hey, you'd like to see this or that. So that'd be pretty cool. Um, we'll see. We will see. We will see. Uh, it's going live today. So if you go to patreon.com/, Toy Armada, it is live right now. You could get in early on some of those paraphernalia stuff and everything if you want to get in on that. Um, and then going into 2025, we'll see what Aaron wants to grow from that and what'll work and what isn't working. It's separate from the Transformer Slag podcast Patreon. This is just something Aaron kind of wanted to create because there's other stuff you're working on too. You have like a comic you're working on and everything like
Yeah,
that.
part of it. Yeah, I'm working on new content projects. It'll probably be also a Kickstarter, but I might sprinkle in what I'm
Is
doing with
something in
this
there.
too.
Yeah.
So yeah, some content. I didn't want to commit exactly to what that might be yet, but
Well, pretty much anything you're working on, you'll people will get to know right away through the Patreon. You'll be able to share it there. So because we're gonna have busy years between the two of us, me too. I can't talk about it publicly, probably maybe next 2 weeks or so, but you know, there's gonna be a lot of interesting stuff coming from both of us in 2025. So
yeah. So I'm really doubling down on the art stuff this year and just kind of wanting to level into that. Trying to use all this knowledge I've built up and spread it out a little bit differently. So yeah, look forward to it.
yeah, it's gonna be fun. So again, I'm just gonna put it up one more time. So again, patreon.com/Toy Armada. Pretty easy to remember that one. And pick a tier, and Aaron will get back to you when you join it and work everything out. Uh, Michael Koo says he just joined. Very good.
Wow, very
Excellent.
cool. Thank
Excellent.
you, Michael.
Excellent. Awesomeness, Michael. Yeah, again, it's something where it's a different kind of Patreon. This is more of a kind of like a subscription service where there'll be some cool stuff that you get every month or so. Again, depending on what tier you're part of. Again, he created a bunch of different tiers to meet the different discerning needs of the wallet. Because I understand, like I've had people that they'll be part of a $5 tier and they'll tell me I can't afford this month, and I'm cool with that. If you can't afford Patreon a month or so, it's don't ever feel bad. It's something where I always tell people just take care of yourself. Take care of your family, and whenever you're financially okay, if you want to come on back, we're always here. Uh, let's see what else. What else we got? So I got a whole bunch of stuff here. Uh, Decepticitty says you have a nice shirt. The Bengals, I guess.
And they
It's
just won.
that's probably why. I haven't
I
been paying.
only wear the gear for one day after they win a game. So
Uh, there you go.
otherwise, you don't see me ever in sports gear.
That's terrible though. You should be celebrating win or lose. Yeah.
Well,
I
yeah.
I
Well,
see it, again when you live in Montreal, which is I don't want to toot my own horn, but the greatest hockey team of all time statistically. I always hate it when people come out of nowhere and start like celebrating the team only when we're doing good. You know,
oh,
and it's like, oh, we're doing good now. Now you're a fan, okay? When we're doing bad, I don't see these people because my father like has been religiously Mr. Hockey his whole life. He watches the game if they're doing bad or they're doing good, and he's always yelling at the team and he's scaring the animals because the animals think he's yelling at them. I used back in the day. I used to because my room was in the basement, and two of the dogs would come down into the basement. They'd sit at my feet, and I'd be like, "What's wrong with you guys?" And my mom would be like, "He's watching the game," because he'd be yelling, "Shoot!" Why didn't he shoot? The dogs are like freaking out because they think it's him yelling at them. Anyways, getting off topic, but the point is that you know, go check out his Patreon. If you see something you like there, join it. It'll be good, some good stuff. Again, the that highest tier you said is limited to 9, you said?
yeah,
9. So,
yeah. There'll
and you
there'll
get
be something to replace that once that one's
yeah.
out, but that's where we're starting.
Well, Aaron's got a shit ton of stuff. So, yeah, he's got a lot of cool stuff. stickers and all kinds of a lot of good like tchotchke stuff from like the Bakan era, which there's only
Yeah,
so much of that kicking around, you
yeah.
know.
I
So
seem to kept handfuls of everything at different points along the way, so kind of strange, but benefit you all.
Decepticitty just joined your Patreon. There you go.
Awesome.
Got another one. There you go. Thank you, Decepticitty. There you go. Excellent. So it's hope we're and might as well while we're here, I'll pull up the slides of some of Aaron's other stuff. Of course, we got the latest episode of the Toy Armada that dropped. Was it last week we dropped it? Which is Energon, deep dive focus. Received pretty well. People really liked it. Scorponok and Ironhide. People liked the insight on those, and just especially considering one of those is a really well received figure, the other one is so the opposite. So I guess and it totally wasn't planned. I totally forgot that those two characters were actually rivals in the show. So it just kind of worked out in a way too from a fictional standpoint. People really liked it. So we'll definitely probably look into doing more. Again, the choice to even do those two was during one of Aaron's live streams. I asked the chat, I was like, hey, who would you like to see we talk about? And there's other people on that list. I have a short list of who was voted. So we'll surprise you guys in the future. We'll do another one for sure because that was well received. Again, we just talked about it. Volume 3 of Aaron's book, The Art of Transforming Robots, Volume 3, 36 full color pages on glossy paper at archermonster.com/shop. Go check that out. Aaron has, I believe you didn't put either you didn't put up any or they went live and then they got sold quickly. Did you put any new Poscas up? Because I didn't see any new ones for this week, anyhow.
Um,
Or did you just put up and they sold right away?
no, the last ones would have
Was the
been
Wheeljack?
the Wheeljack
Yeah,
and
okay. Anyways, we're
yeah,
all busy during the holidays, so I don't
yeah.
blame you. The same thing, like people are like, I only did, I think I did only 2 segments this week, and people are like, Protoman, are you okay? I'm like, it's not
Yeah, like I was working on this
oh,
one
let's look at that. Oh, wing Optimus.
and
Very
still
cool.
haven't finished this one. I think I roughed this one out at Baltimore.
Oh, really? Okay, that's awesome.
So
We got
that'll
a
probably be tomorrow.
We got a super chat, Snell's World for $5. Do you think we'll ever get an Autobot City attached to our Metroplex? Me personally, hot take, I've always felt Autobot City and Metroplex are the same thing. I know the cartoon tries to establish them as two separate things, but I've always kind of felt they're both the same thing. And for Hasbro to separate them would then they'd have to create a separate character and thus create a separate trademark. And then that gets kind of messy because then if anything, if they want to do another Autobot City toy, they're going to want to just do Metroplex as a trademark again. That's how I always see it. Like, let's be like, hey, we got to do Metroplex again. If it's not
So
the if not, it's not the Cybertron one. You were going to say something? Sorry.
so yeah, I mean, I'll just share a little bit of backstory on those. Like those city transformers are are kind of they're like play sets in Star Wars, right? They don't make those anymore for a kind of a reason. They're 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 kind of I think of them as dead end toys. That is to say, you have to be a super fan that has the space and the desire to fill those things up sometimes.
One moment. Star Warrior. I'm going to post on the screen Aaron's Patreon link.
Yeah.
One sec. One moment. Let me just.
So they get compromised for those other planet modes often or base modes, and they just don't work out too often. Um, so when I see those big transformers, it's tough.
And again, like you especially, you were around for that first Titan. Like that first time Metroplex was even a thing. Hey, let's do a giant Titan class transformer, which up to that point, I mean, gosh, let me just turn my head here. It just didn't exist.
No,
You had
Unicron Armada Unicron was the otherwise biggest since the 80s.
yeah, you had like Armada Unicron, you did like the Omega Supreme, you did the big Starscream, you did the Primus, but none of those really were play sets. They were just big Transformers. And then you kind of had kind of play sets during Transformers Prime with that, I guess it was called the Cyberverse price point, whatever you guys called that, you know. the little legend scale. You did kind of little vehicles and play sets with that, but they weren't really bases per se in the traditional sense. And yeah, it wasn't until that Titan class did you guys really go, okay. And yeah, and again, you got back to play sets by the time you got to Dark of the Moon. Again, you did little play set thingies here and there, but it was really like that Titan class. It's like, hey, we're gonna get back to the big boys and do that big stuff again.
Yeah.
And you know, awesomeness.
It's a lot of plastic. It's a lot of weight. I mean, even if I think of Batman play sets and stuff, they, it's an old fashioned style a little bit.
And Batman's done some like they've done modest play sets, and then I think it was I want to say it was Batman Forever had a huge one that was like multi platforms. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was
Batman Forever
yeah, it was
had the big
huge.
gothic kind of buttress stuff, and yeah, it was outrageous. It was a really nice play set in that regard.
We have a super chat from Mark Morales, $5. Hey, Proto and Aaron, hope the holidays are good and wishing you guys happy new year. What are you looking forward to in the future of the age of the primes? What are you looking forward to, Aaron?
I'm looking forward to probably down the road a little bit longer when we can really start seeing them all together.
Hmm. Me too.
Um,
I'm like I'm seeing like okay the stylistic choices that they're doing for these characters where it's like I kind of had in my head what I imagined a Prima would be. That didn't turn out to be the case, so I'm now really curious. Okay, well then how's my Cronus going to look now? How's some of these other guys going to like or like an Onyx Primal, or Prime, Onyx Prime in this case. um is he going to be like some kind of centaur with wings or beast, or are they going to do something completely left field? I'm very curious.
well,
You know,
what is the balance so far to new tooling to you know add-on tooling or
so far it's all been new except for what they said with they're going to just stick with Vector Prime with what they have right now. You
okay,
know, I mean, again, you know how it is when it's going to be 3-4 years from the fact they're going to have to do something. So
yeah.
we'll see what happens then. We're going to give you guys this now, but 3-4 years in the toy industry is a lot of time. Everything's done like you said 2 years in advance, sometimes three. So who knows what they'll put together afterwards. But that's the one I'm just looking, I'm kind of like you. I'm just kind of curious, what are they going to do with those primes? I'm very, because everything else it's retreading, updating characters. Hey, we're getting, an updated red alert from Armada. Hey, that's great. If you didn't own the original, you're going to get an updated version. It's going to be a little more screen accurate. You have the modern engineering and stuff from an era where it was more toyetic. So you get to enjoy that. Um, but for someone like me, it's more just new characters. As someone who bought and owned almost everything, never owned any primes in general. Yeah, okay, a Fallen from a Titanium's line. It's literally I could point right there.
I
He's
I mean, I hope they do some of them justice. I mean, a Micronus would be in with the ball,
yeah, like an
you
energy
know,
shield. Yeah,
that he sits in. I'm very proud of that concept. Like the mini con is so powerful. The smallest guy is so powerful that he kind of has to zen out and live within a little ball, because he'll just
it's like
destroy everything.
concentrated energy.
Yeah,
You know.
and I want. I mean, I that's one of my favorite 13 that I helped articulate that way.
Mm,
So I'm curious about that one. We've seen Prima, Onyx will be interesting. What do they do with that?
Liege
Um,
Maximo, are they going to go full Loki? Are they going to like,
yeah,
I'm very, again, it's something where I'm very, and again, especially, Mr. Combiner, Nexus Prime, like how are they going to is he going to be a combiner or is he just going to be something else? Like I'm curious the artistic direction to
yeah,
simplify. It's just I'm very curious what they're going to do. And that they're designing these guys with the intent of then what do you do afterwards? Because now
sure,
that we've done this to be a prime character, what have we put in the DNA of this tooling that then we could turn this into, bludgeon, or XYZ. Yeah, I was about to reach for mine actually. Might as
So,
well. Hold on.
it's interesting where they, are they choosing to follow these designs that Ken originated with me?
The Ken Christensen stuff, yeah.
Yeah, or are they, are they trying to forge a new area? Again, I'm not sure. Some of
I-
these are going to be very difficult
Well, yeah. Where's I'm trying to find
to
Amalgamus.
bring an expression forward.
I
I
was
guess.
I was literally going to that page. I was like, "Where's Amalgamus?" That's a hot mess. I used to. I did a photo. I wish I could find that photo. Years ago, I did a photo of like, oh, here's the original 13, and I took pre-existing Transformer toys, and I used Frenzy from the movies.
Yeah,
Because I was like, that's the closest we got to Amalgamus, a nice messy design. You know,
I'm,
but
that
there's my Cronus. Yeah.
could be very cool.
Yeah, that's what, and again, very interesting designs that like these obviously are Ken's designs, but then you had from the Pat Lee era, his interpretation, of course, Vector from the Cybertron Galaxy Force era, and then like you dial it even a little more back and you go, okay, well, you
Oh,
know,
Leech Maximo needs to look like the Marvel comics.
oh gosh, that's what I would hope. That would be cool because I not to mention if they make it look like how Ken drew it, I mean, maybe Marvel's gonna be like, "Hey, man, like it's a little on the nose that one." Like I don't know if you could pull it up, but if I could find it, hold on. It's
Yeah,
like that one's a little on the nose, that one. But they did a good job with the Fallen. The Fallen came out really good. I'm kind of curious how they'll do the Alpha Trion. That one's going to be interesting because we've had quite a few Alpha Trion toys. So how are they gonna change that after we've done it so many times? Especially, we just came off of a movie that had Alpha Trion in it also. So what are they going to do different? What is there going to be different this time around?
yeah, yeah.
And
Ken's
for
Leech Maximo is definitely Loki.
Yeah,
It,
well that's why, and it's something where it's like if they stayed true to that, it's like oof, that's a little on the nose. And for those that are wondering, the book that we're looking at is the Covenant of Primus, which unfortunately today is quite an expensive book. I am shocked
it
how stupid the money it goes for. If I would have known, I would have bought two of them. Good. Then I could buy a second car, you know. But yeah, it's I'm very curious to see where they go with that. Very, very curious because it's to me it's always about what characters don't I own. Like I want to own a version of those characters at least in some shape or form. And the 13 has always been one that most of those have been eluded for many years. So we will see. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any other super chats. But yeah, that hope that answers that, Mark. Some of the green questions. Again, if I miss any green questions, guys, just repeat them. I will gladly. JR Mina from the Philippines. Hi, Proto and Aaron. Have you seen the on hand and comparison pictures of the MPG '09 Super Jinrai? What are your thoughts? I saw the in-hand images. It looks really cool. I know it's an expensive masterpiece of the again Power Master Optimus Prime for Westerners. I'm a big Master Force guy, so I kind of have a bias of why I like that. Um, I want to get it. I don't have it pre-ordered right now, but it is something that I'll consider down the line. Big pricey items like that, I just feel like Amazon Japan will do a sale at some point. Like they did the green Unicron from Armada, and then that went on sale, and I picked that up when it was on sale. I was like, God, I saved like $100. So Japan items because they don't got the space. They just don't got the space. Japan doesn't have an Ollie's where you could just dump everything and have it sit there forever. That a place like Ollie's is like that's like a luxury mansion in Japan. Like you can't have that kind of space to waste on plastic. So stuff has to move. My buddy Hydra, shout out to Andrew. Like he shows me like the rollover of Power Ranger stuff over there, the Sentai stuff. It's like when one series is done, there's like this one store that all of that stuff just converges on. And for like a good solid month, they're just blowing it out. And it's so funny because it's not the new, like you've used the term, Aaron, it's like fashion, because it's not the new fashion now. No one cares, and it's like worth nothing to them.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, this is not the new hot Sentai series or Kamen Rider. We don't care. 1,000 yen. Get it out of
Yeah,
here.
they keep the value on the modern, the new, and they almost don't. That's why one of the weird things in Japan that I picked up on is they don't really have sales in the stores. That stuff, like you said, goes somewhere else
Yep.
because it's like you never want to have the impression like someone came in yesterday, bought it for $50, and then the next day they see it for 20. You never want that worry that they're going to be offended. So they just don't have sales. That stuff goes somewhere to be discounted for
Yeah.
sure,
It's a different
but you
store.
never see it in the everything is always top notch. This is the best number one, and newest. It's really
And
interesting.
they have
Different
beautiful
from our
store
model
they
for
have
sure.
beautiful store displays too. They have like nice store, like whenever a new series comes out, they have like a nice store display with something that lights up. Like
Oh yeah,
it's always very clean there. They have a they have a whole different philosophy when it comes to toy release, how you present it, how it's distributed, the timing of it. Like like us, it's this game of this was cited. Oh, here and here. It's like everything has a hard release date.
they
You
have
know,
more of a plan, right? The
yeah,
cartoon drops, the character launches. It's in the anime. It's in the manga monthly magazine the next week.
yeah.
You get the sticker for being there the first weekend it launches, and
Pro-
they
promotional
make a
stuff.
big
You
deal.
spend if you spend more than 4,000 yen, you get this exclusive mini con.
Yeah,
Like the but again, the reason why we don't have that here is small country, one time zone. Like it's a
yeah. You can send
it
someone in a truck and they can go everywhere if you need
yeah,
them.
well, you can't say, "Hey, guy in Cali, could you hit Florida in the next 3 hours?" In Japan you can. Like their version of coast to coast, if you want to even call it that. We'll call it point to point, peninsula to peninsula. Like they could pull that off in 3 hours in a bullet train, no problem. So
Yeah.
it doesn't exist here. So that's why we don't get to kind of enjoy that same kind of situation.
We were amazed that a character could debut on Friday afternoon, Saturday morning,
Oh
across the
yeah.
country. That character is in all the stores. You
Greatest
know,
example of that
amazing.
was Super Link, which was Energon here. And I have crystal clear memory of this. Again, shout out to Hydra. Episode 9, I think it was episode 9 or 10 of Super Link. Friday, Rodimus debuts, my boy. And then Andrew was like literally Saturday in, I think it was Jusco, whatever it's called there, one of their, they had a whole display of just, he's the new hotness with his two side characters, which was Beachcomber, not Beachcomber, I think they called him Overdrive in Japan. It was called Cliff Jumper over here. I get all these names mixed up. And I think it was called Mirage or it was called Prowl here. I don't even remember. Red Alert. I think it was called Red Alert here. It's so confusing. So, and he had those two other guys were also with him, like that case assortment, if you want to even call it that, because they have a very different way they do cases too. It's usually solid characters, not multiple of this of different characters. So they have a whole different system, whole different, and it's not just Transformers. It's how they do Gundam. It's how they do Power Rangers. It's like character debuts. Boom. The whole thing where we've talked about this on your podcast. When you get to the 50% waypoint, it's perfectly timed that like when you're at because if it's a 52 episode series, at episode let's say like 27, 28. Oh, it's also Golden Week. Oh,
Yep.
that's where the big combiner character is going to debut, the Jetfire, the Overload, excuse me, the Wing Saber, you know coincidentally Golden Week, coincidentally right in the middle, all premeditated, and it's
Yeah.
genius, because and it's not and again not just Transformers, guilty across all brands, Pokemon, this, that. They know what they're doing. Oh, big name character is going to debut, or Ash is going to find some legendary Pokemon. We're going to make sure that figure comes out, and it's going to be during Golden Week, and it's they're smart with that. They're when you have a very homogenized culture. It's all one people that all celebrate the one thing, that all have the one, I don't want to say religion, but definitely cultural celebration. it's a lot easier to plan and control all of that. You know, it's a lot easier to hit all of that perfectly, and works out for them. Works
Yeah,
out for
it
them.
was. I was there for um Final Fantasy 7.
Oh, really? The launch of it? Really? Oh, it's true. Yeah, that would make sense because it was like 97, 98. You're right. And you were right in the heat of that.
No, maybe it was 8. Which is
Oh,
the blonde guy with the big sword?
that's 7. That would be
Okay.
Cloud Strife, and that would be 97, 98. And then after that was a guy with a scar on his face called Squall. I want to say that was 99. And then 10 was, no, excuse me. And then Final Fantasy 9, which was with Vivi.
Was that
And that,
the surfer looking dude?
no, that's much later. That's much later. That's, what's his name? Gosh, that's from Final Fantasy 10. And that's, that one I'm
Okay,
going to
that's the
forget.
one. That's the one when I was there for launch.
Okay, so
So
that, yeah.
I
Also a
bought
blonde guy with a big sword.
I bought special magazines that came out that day. I had Pepsi toppers. You know how they do that
Oh,
format
yeah, yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. They did that for a while with Final Fantasy.
All that stuff. Like I hit the weekend that hit, so I was really intrigued by all this Pepsi drop today. What you know? But it's really
Funny.
cool when they launch that stuff. I was also at a Wonderfest when they debuted the new Ultraman
What,
costume.
what year was that? Would you say?
2004, 5, 3.
Was it Max? I think that was Max that year. I'm trying to think.
Very cool because it was like, focused for the kids that were in the audience. And I learned
Yeah,
that
they're
Ultraman was a thing,
yeah, they do their stage shows. That's so unique to just them.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and
guy
again,
total martial artist gymnast was in the costume
and
flipping around.
they do that. Titus, thank you. It's funny. There's a guy named Titus. Yeah, it's called Titus. The guy, the name of the character was the name of the guy who said in the chat.
That's
And
funny.
Star Warrior joined your Patreon, Aaron.
Awesome. Thank you.
But yeah, so it's something where, and again, like we just said, the stage show thing so unique to them because they've done Beast Wars Transformers stage shows. They've done Ultraman, they've done Power Rangers, they've done Mega Man even. I've seen a few Mega Man ones. Like very different, very different approach to how they get the word out. They do those pop-up stores, which I wish we did stuff like that here. But again, it's very hard to do that. We're a big country, both Canada and the USA. Like you can't just go, "Hey, we're doing a pop-up store in New York City." 99% of the United States will be like, wah, wah, like,
Yeah.
oh, that,
Uh,
like, you don't get to enjoy it. Where if they do a pop up store in Japan, hey, get on a bullet train, be there in 3 hours. You could pull it off, even if you're the furthest possible you could be away. You know.
yeah. No, it is difficult.
What else we got here? Dear Proto and Aaron, do you see Takara giving missing link treatment to more rare figures like Minerva and Star Saber? Um, I feel that they're going to focus more on that 84, 85, and like the RC mostly just because of the prototype nature of it. Uh Unicron is about as far as I think crazy it would go. Get that old ball Unicron out of nowhere and do a missing link of that would be wild. But I think, they did Kojin Ono got to get his Sunstreaker out there. That's going to be one of the next ones. I imagine if they turn to Yoke-san and go, "Hey, would you like to do a Perceptor missing link?" He'd probably be down for that. But mind you, so far the missing links have only been Diaclone in Origin. That's a Microman one. So if they do open it up to Microman, then I've said this before, that's where you're going to see your Gun Megatron. A Japanese exclusive, made for Japan market item. You want your Gun Megatron, that's where it's going to be. It's going to be in missing link.
I wish they would do that. Totally makes sense that they're focusing on the Diaclone.
Mm.
But I wish they would do more of the designs in the back of the Generations book.
Mm.
Some of the alternative, whether they're characters we know with different designs, or some of the just cool stuff in those books and haven't saw the light of day. Because to me, that's like really cool to have G1 toys that were made in the real era, but now came out 40 years later. There's something charming about that.
I feel that all of those, I feel that they probably keep those on the side going, when we finally run out of stuff, that's when we're going to start, because they're going to one day. I mean, they retread a lot, granted, but there is going to be a point where I use this term, I call it the apex figure, where it's like you've done the best prowl you possibly could do at this point. At that price point, at that limit of what you could do for retail with MSRP at deluxe, where do you go from here? Do you do it again 5 years later? Like, I mean, and they're doing that with a lot of their characters where I'm just going like, where do you go with Jazz from here? Like that studio series Jazz, it's like you're done. You're gonna have to now either retread other Jazzes, like let's say animated or whatever, or you make a new character. And that's when you make a new character, that's when you crack open the back of that generation's guidebook deluxe edition, which I'm sure is the one you're referring to. Um, the deluxe one has all the really deep cut weird stuff, like unused headmasters, and I have them all there. Great book again if you guys could get your hands on it. It's done by Million Publishing, I believe it's called. And just I think that that's when they're going to really start looking at that, is when they've truly exhausted everything. Because once in a while, you get there was a little battle master they did of a snake, and I was like, oh, that's a little bit pulling from one of those unreleased headmasters. And they for years we saw those universal monsters in the back of that book, and we finally had those become a reality. We got the Draculus, whatever Draculus one we got a the Frankenstein one, so which again, those were in the back of those books for years. Not one for one the same designs, but definitely the same vibe. They had the Fly, they had Dracula, they had um the Lagoon. I'm trying to remember what was one of the other ones that were in there. And I'm too lazy to go reach the book right now, but you know, there was a lot of those there. Let me just see. Larry just ordered two of the Sunstreakers. No surprise. Missing Links, Omega Supreme. See, the bigger ones, I imagine, those are something they probably want. Omega Supreme has a weird history too with Japan, so I don't know if they'd go that route because that has toy box origins. Michael Koo, on your way off the grid, like what Beast Wars did. Well, Beast Wars is an example of they've done everything, and I'm talking in that time. Like it's like, okay, Transformers not doing well, Ninja Turtles taking over the world. Uh, let's do Transformers G1 again, which was what G2 was. I mean, if you look at the first wave and a half of G2, it's like it's G1 Prime, it's Jazz, it's Constructicons, just different colors, it's Aerial Bots, just different color. Everything's 90s in terms of coloring, but it's like, hey, it's G1 all over again. The comic is G1, it's all G1, 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 and it didn't sell. It didn't sell at all. Part of it I could blame on the same year that G2 came out in 1993, Power Rangers came out. And if you were around when Power Rangers came out in 93, you know how much that took over the world. Like that was a big effing deal. Whenever you see people bootlegging something else, you know that was the leader at that time. Power Rangers comes out, and then there's all these other live action costume, kung fu fighting shows. Take your pick of Sentai, Tokusatsu, whatever. Um, so because Power Rangers was huge, G2 just didn't have the market. Kids weren't asking for that on Christmas. They weren't asking for Grimlocks and Optimuses. They wanted the Red Ranger. They wanted the Dragon Zord or whatever. So that didn't help it. And again, going into 94 and 95, which was the end of G2, X-Men got huge. Toy Biz was really doing well with, X-Men and Spider-Man, and kids were just elsewhere. Their money was there. They just wanted other things. So Beast Wars was Hasbro going to Kenner and going, here, take this, you figure it out, and doing something so radically different than what had come before. But at the same time, and I've said, I think I said on your podcast, they looked at what was working. Oh, Jurassic Park's huge. People like dinosaurs, like let's go with that, bugs, insects. Oh, Japan will eat that up at least, They love that stuff.
Yeah,
And
that was I think definitely based in the marketing of what was popular at the time, and you can never go wrong with animals in a way.
Yeah.
Um, it was also the easiest pivot, um, and it took them a minute to dial it in. You can tell that too.
Still to this day, how huge Beast Wars was and how little extra stuff there was. There was a puzzle, there was a board game which no one even knows exists, a Hasbro Interactive PlayStation game and PC game, and that was it. Where was the T-shirts? Where was the
Yeah,
mugs? Where
there
was
was a pretty basic style guide. So I don't know if you know that exists, but there is
yeah.
a three-ring binder that has the eye and the scales, and green Beast Wars logo, and it had very simple black and white artwork that you've seen on other stuff.
Mm,
I actually think, looking back on it and what I know now, I think G2 did so much damage to the brand at the same time. To your point, these other things came into the market,
that just
Turtles
yeah.
and Power Rangers and other, whatever the movies du jour were at the time. Um, I think that definitely it was easy to go, well, you've just been giving me the same stuff for a long time, Transformers. We're going over here, and they just had to reinvent it from the ground up. And when you say where was all the licensing, I think it proves how low they were
Oh
and
yeah.
how rebuilding that actually was. We see it in retrospective how it worked out pretty well, but I don't think it was very positive internally at the time.
You're a company that's making bath towels. It's 1990 because you have to understand how long it takes to manufacture. It's 1994. You're making bath towels, and Kenner comes to you and go, "Hey, we're doing Beast Wars Transformers," but then Toy Biz is like, "Oh, by the way, we have the master toy license for X-Men." And then you have Bandai of America, "Hey, our Power Ranger stuff is firing on all cylinders." And then Kenner, "Hey man, they got Power of the Force that's cooking," which was doing quite well. So it's like, yeah, you're not going to look at that unproven Transformer stuff that just shit the bed literally 2 years prior. So yeah, it makes sense completely.
And there's,
100%.
oh, you don't have a cartoon,
Yeah,
you know,
no comic. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, no
um,
comic, no cartoon, no video game. Like
for
what are you?
G2. So
Yeah.
Beast Wars comes along and it's really ground up rebuilding, to the point I always point out too is that, look at the logo. It's Beast Wars Transformers.
Yeah,
We
totally.
didn't we called it Beast Wars internally. It was the Transformers team, but we referred to it as Beast Wars. It wasn't Transformers
Oh,
until,
even when it was popular, when it
yeah,
was during its popularity, if you were Canadian, and shout out to my Canadians in the chat, we called it Beasties. We didn't call it Beasties Transformers. That wasn't
yeah,
like the underlying tag to it. Did you watch Beasties? And the same thing for Americans. Did you watch Beast Wars? No one ever said, like how we today, now we call it Transformers, insert whatever under it. Did you see Transformers Animated? Did you see Transformers Armada? It was, did you see
yeah.
Beast Wars? The fact that it transformed and it had Transformers on, and the undertext was just a pure coincidence,
Yeah.
that
I
it worked
think
out that way.
until the show got cooking and writers came on board and said, let's leverage the lore, outside of protecting some names, I don't think they were even probably connected, right? I think they really
Oh,
did
what
throw all the bath babies out with the bathwater.
when they first did the show, like the first, I would have to say, 12 episodes, um, they didn't know where they were going. This could have been anything, that like this Optimus Primal could have been the original Optimus Prime. They didn't know. Like they just kind of had an idea, like they made him, like there was a throwaway line that whoever wrote that episode, the Great War, which they didn't, when they threw out that line, they didn't think of like G1. They just,
Another
because in history of America we had great wars. There's been great wars in history. So like, oh, there was a great war. You know.
another aspect of that, um, is the nature of that VHS cartoon
Hmm.
that has the alligator Megatron and the bat Optimus.
Yeah.
It just shows you they did not know exactly where they were going and where to put the content in the best spot yet early on.
It was just it was that was just
We had nowadays you have to have that all locked up, right? It's all going to be a tip of a spear to drive stuff, and they were just
they made
throwing stuff out,
it was
trying.
it was a 2-pack. It had Crocodile, Megatron, and Optimus the Bat. It came with a small little comic book that didn't really build anything. It was just kind of like, here's these characters, and the back of it is a catalog for cross sell. The comic book wasn't promoting a future comic book. It wasn't tied to a existing company like a Dark Horse even, or a Now Comics, like even like the more third tier indie guys. It was just they were just, let's see what happens.
Yeah,
Let's just see what happens. And it worked out. Don't get me wrong. I will always say is it saved the brand. It put it in the right direction. I firmly believe a lot of it had to do with just the fact that it was a CG show, and that was a novelty at the time. That was very unique.
and
I
they
love.
had the benefit of really good writing on that CG
Oh
show as
yeah,
well.
that helped too. That got.
So
I feel that it got the eyeball. The CG got the eyeballs, and then people went, oh, and this is a really good written show on top of this.
yeah,
Where it's kind of the same thing where, you know, I imagine like a Batman the animated series, if it didn't have Paul Dini and Bruce Timm, instead they would have went with like Filmation. They would have went back to the old well, or or like Hanna-Barbera for
yeah, right.
some version. It wouldn't have been as celebrated. Even if the writing would have been amazing. It's you have to Todd McFarlane said it the best. He said you could have something written by Shakespeare, but if it's drawn with a crayon, no one cares. But if it's written by a 3-year-old, but it's painted by like Picasso, people will still at least care a little bit. As long as it looks good, it'll get their attention, and then they'll kind of dissect even a simple story. And the comic industry survived that way for years. And it's kind of the same thing where I think Beast Wars was lucky that at that moment in time, you had Reboot, you had Beast Wars. I think there was a show called, it wasn't called Bugs. That's a movie. It was called something else. It was like a bug related CG show that came out of France. And that was like it. That was it for, and outside of obviously the movie industry with Toy Story, there was no one that was like a standalone CG storytelling vehicle. And so to be one of the 4 in the world, like at the time, and again, that's counting Toy Story, which was, a monolith in itself. How could you not get ignored? Excuse me, how could you get ignored? It would be impossible. Like people are going to go like, "Hey, check out this show," and it just so happened to be a pre-existing brand that did have a little bit of lore. It came out right at the same time that the internet was just becoming a thing, so it also helped bring people together who did celebrate this stuff, like like Trekkies that have done for years. Now we could kind of have Transformer fans.
Yeah,
So it's something like that. War Planets came later, Ash. War Planets came out in season 3 of Beast Wars. Um, God, what was no, not Santo Bagito. It was a CG show about bugs, and the bad guys didn't have color, and the good guys had color, and the good guy bug had a guitar that was strung and would shoot color at the bad guy. It was all CG show. People think I'm crazy, but I know what I'm talking about. I remember it. And it was based out of France because in Canada we have a law on our, again, weird law. We have a law that Canadian channels by law have to play a certain amount of Canadian created content. That's another reason why Beast Wars was so great is the Canadian government actually paid for a lot of Beast Wars' creation because it was done in Vancouver, Mainframe Studios. So the government was like, "Oh, you need XYZ amount of money to rig these animation models? Sure, we'll pay." Because they look at it as Canadian content. And that's why Beast Wars looked so good, was because our tax dollars were paying for it. Go watch a Beasties episode specifically, meaning one that has Beasties as the opening instead of Beast Wars. Go look at the credits. It literally says paid by the Canadian government or whatever. It's a real thing. I'll post it on my Twitter for people just to show it. But anyways, it's a weird thing. Insectors. Thank you, El Kevo. That's what it was called. Insectors. Weird ass show. Look it up, people. Um, Originally in French, then was dubbed into English, played on YTV. One of the first CG shows that ever existed that was like a standalone CG. Like you could say, oh, Tron had CG in it. Yeah, but it was, it was used in little pieces here and there. I'm talking like a whole movie or a whole TV show. A lot of weird stuff. Let me just look at some questions. Aaron, where is your big red dragon? Do you have one?
Yeah, it's in storage actually. Mine started to break apart.
You have, I know that you have the original, and already the
Yeah.
neck was starting to go. I remember that. That one has its plastic issues. Yeah.
My other one is behind me holding up the Ohio flag, the new one.
Do you have the cryotech?
Not yet, no.
Uh, Someone get him a cryotech. That's the hot one. That one. I love that one.
Have they released Cryotech yet?
Not yet. No, I'm saying the original. I'm telling
Yeah,
people to get.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody who wants to send me an original Cryotech, please
Yeah.
do.
That's
Please
that
do.
that thing is awesome. Looks gorgeous in blue. I don't know
I
why it
think
just
there are
pops.
like I talk sometimes about how I don't like the yellow Optimus Prime that was done in that era,
Energon, yeah,
but
right
that
there.
Cryotech redeco and the Bloody Mammoth
Mm, right
Prime
there. Right
is
there.
those are two of the best special redecos I think they ever did. I think they're awesome.
That the Nemesis Prime, the bloody tusk mammoth, like that was a universe exclusive, but was that a store exclusive? I
Yeah,
don't remember. Was it
yeah.
a store?
The group that made those items, those were store exclusive items. I don't know what store, but they would have been for programs,
Mm.
incentive programs. So wherever that was, KB, it might have been KB even.
When it's probably not the case, but when it is a store exclusive, it does that bump the budget a little bit, or is it pretty much the same for the price
Uh,
point?
it doesn't change the budget as much, but the percentage that has to be returned to the company is different.
Mm. Okay,
So
interesting.
they don't have to in their costing analysis, they may be able to take out all the tooling.
Interesting.
And so when they run the numbers, it can be a different type of profit margin for both companies, and that's why you enter into these deals. You know, if you're going to order this many, you're going to promo it for us. We'll give you
Yeah.
this at a good price. Dot dot dot. It's exclusive to you, and they make it affordable that way.
And now it completely
And if they pick up the order in country, sometimes Walmart would do that. They would ship it themselves. Then they can get it even for a better price.
and that makes me change my perspective on some exclusive repaints that are pretty stellar, you know? Huh, that's interesting. I'd love to know the numbers on that, like on a deeper level. Ninjatron says, I think it was a Target. I think that makes sense, Ninjatron, because I don't remember getting that locally. And that would have been something if I had the opportunity, I would have picked it up locally. That was definitely a BotCon purchase. Let me see if there's any more questions. If we have any super chats or stuff, I want to make sure I don't miss anything, guys. Don't forget, don't be scared to double down or ask a question again. At Protoman and Aaron, do you think they will release the 86 movie deleted scenes, background characters like Huffer, Blue Streak, Mirage, and Sideswipe? I think if you're talking about like Studio Series 86, I think that's all going to just happen sooner or later. If you're asking, hey, is Hasbro going to release insert really popular trademark and or character? Yes. I don't think I don't think that that's something that's going to be a hard ask. Like, is Hasbro going to do a Huffer? Of course they will. You know, uh, as a Beast Wars super fan, thank you, Canada. Well, thank Mainframe Entertainment for deciding to use Vancouver as their stomping ground because it was cheap rent and it was cheap there apparently at the time. Not so much now. Uh, so Aaron is not a fan of Splendid Convoy. Splendid Convoy is the name of the yellow repaint of Optimus. I think I have one nearby somewhere. So I picked up a bunch of stuff to resell recently. So let me see what else do we have. Send more questions, people, if you got a chance. Oh, Aaron lost his audio. That's what happened. If Aaron disappears, guys, it's because his audio is sometimes a little weird today. Let's add him back. And audio
Uh,
issues, eh? If I see it
yeah.
disappear, I know what happens. I schooled them already. Um, where are we at here? Where are we at? I agree with Proto. I think Hasbro should make more Beast Wars Beast machines, Armada lines. There's Aaron again. He disappeared. Let's bring him back
Coming.
in.
So I apologize.
There you go. It's good. It's good. Uh, Aaron, what happened to the big red dragon that you found that was signed by you at the store? Did you get a discount because you made it and signed it? I don't know this story. Oh, there goes your audio again, brother. What's going on? What is going on?
It works for a second,
Yeah, that's weird.
and then
Very weird.
disappears. I never did buy that red dragon. There was a loose one at my local junk store that was signed by me along the way, which was kind of funny to go in and see that.
This store was in Cincinnati?
Canton, Ohio,
I can't. Okay, so let me think. So we
a
had
couple
the
years ago. Not
Ba-
even not even a year ago.
I'm just trying to think like BotCon 2008, I believe, was in Cincinnati. Maybe someone got it signed by you back in '08, and then it
People
found its
bring
way.
them. Yeah, people bring them. So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. The fact that it was brought in, yeah, that's hilarious. Put it on eBay. What's with you people?
But they wanted like I think they wanted $60 for it loose.
Well, if it's complete, eh, autograph or not, that's a fragile toy.
Yeah.
So to have it in good condition, if it's it has the missile on the top there, that's always missing.
As you know, I had more fun going through their $3 bins than trying
Well,
to buy there.
well, and it's funny because there's this store locally here that always gets like weird '90s carded stuff, and you are attached to a lot of like that kind of stuff. And it's like it's me. I'm hell bent on trying to find Jar Jar with the fish, like for cheap, just so I could like get you to sign it because I'm just like because there's all the others, and I'm like I don't want this guy in a suit or this one here, but there's so much red carded episode one stuff out there that you could get like $5 Canadian a pop. I'm just
One
trying.
the one I can't find of my Star Wars figures is I did a three-legged R2D2 that had wheels in the feet.
And this
So
was on the 3 inch.
yeah,
Interesting. Okay.
and I don't think the third. I don't know if the third foot. I think the third foot did descend on its own, like it was articulated to go in and
Mm.
out. Um, I don't think there was any other feature on it other than maybe a chrome top, but I can't find that one anywhere.
Well, that's why it's a great store. Like if you ever come down, I'm gonna bring you there, and I'm gonna get you to sign everything for the owner, so you can give you a discount. Because that's exactly what Derek did. Derek did the same thing. Derek walked in, and Derek made sure to let everyone know who he is. That way he could get a discount. He just signed everything, and then right away, because he'll see like Z-bots, like weird stuff. He'll see Z-bots. He's like, I want those Z-bots. Oh, if I tell them I'm the guy who made all these animated toys, I'll sign them and can get a
Yeah,
discount.
yeah.
Times are tough, but if you could throw your name around, love you, Derek. But if you could do it, you could do it. So it's something I'd love to bring you there one day because there's that store like this guy, he just so much stuff just comes in, and again, it's a lot of like it's amazing how much '90s carded stuff survived carded, and there's just so much of it out there. There's Total Justice stuff. There's Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, like all of that like mid to late '90s where there was just it's like KB Toys couldn't get enough of
Yeah.
it, you know.
KB Toys Marvel Toy Biz stuff.
Mm. That store has tons of Marvel Toy Biz, tons of it, tons and tons of it. And again, how much is it? With inflation, probably cheaper than what it was when it was sold at KB. Because I think he's asking like 10 Canadian for a carded Storm,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's like that was like 10 American back then in like 97, 96.
They're
Um,
yeah.
ZM has the question. Aaron, are you responsible for the rise? Excuse me, not Rise of the Beast. Revenge of the Fallen tank bludgeon. That was that bludgeon tank that they did. It was a Voyager
No,
class. Who
yeah,
did
no, the
that?
team made that one.
Yeah, who did that one?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
because that
I don't
that
want to.
I don't
I don't
think
want to
that was
misspeak. It's either a Bill Raleigh or
that one. Hold on a second, because that one I remember. I remember there was a BotCon where someone talked about it, and that wasn't even supposed to be a movie toy. Apparently, that was just something that ended up in the movie assortment.
yeah. I think I remember something like that
Yeah, let me look that one up. One sec.
because that it is a weird one because it is kind of a weird G1 side character that has no business being in the movie yet,
Mm.
but yet there's a pretty accurate toy of it, right? Um,
So it says here, known designers, Don Figueroa. There you go. That's a
yeah,
weird.
Don did
That,
some.
that's a weird name to have to a movie toy. So that right away proves a little bit its origin. Because how much did Don really have to do with with some of those? And then yeah, that's it. Just known Don. That's about it. So if Don had something to do with it, then I don't know. Don wasn't known mostly for doing movie stuff, was he?
I had him come in and do some movie stuff, but that item doesn't feel particularly movie either. So it could
Hmm.
have been a holdover of something. I don't think it would have been a titanium.
No, 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 no.
Um,
For sure, not that.
I'll have to dig around. Maybe we could find the answer on that one because
Yeah,
it is a interesting one. And I'll let me articulate why that might be. So or how this operates. Not everybody understands. Internally, the design teams can pick and choose what they do in house, but there is much more work to do than you could possibly do in house. That is to do every sculpt input, pick every color, do the presentation boards, do the revisions as they're asked, and brainstorm new stuff as that cycle goes through the company.
yeah.
So you work with outside people. We talk about Marcelo, we talk about Ken, we talk about Don, Emiliano, if you're familiar,
Hmm.
um, and several others. Don Kana's in there, and different people along the way. Uh,
Joe Kide. Yeah.
yeah, and they come in and they help execute different aspects of the toy design. So sometimes, I need an awesome presentation board. I'd go to this artist. I need good technical work. I would go to this artist. I need a sale piece that is the beyond because I'm going to go talk to Michael Bay.
Mm.
I go to this artist. And some people do the sculpt input, some people do color guides. Some guys do the technical mm, weapons and projectiles that you see and stuff. So that's how so Don would often we'd have him do like a veneer. I've talked about that. Or kind of a milieu. We'd be like, hey, here's the tank we're developing. We'd like it to be this G1 character. Can you do a version where it looks like that was the alt mode? We would use Dawn that way a lot of the time, as well as he had the ability to kind of articulate or comment on where he thought the articulation and movement of the actual
He was
physical
really good.
transform.
He was good with
Yeah,
that. That
very
was
very. Not everybody wants to do that. Marcelo's pretty good after all these years, but Don, you know, definitely was good at that. And if you can understand the pivots and the physical nature of these things do move, it helps the designs for sure.
uh Michael Koo with the $5 super chat to Mr. Archer. Which 2024 Transformer release caught your eye? Anything that came out in
Ooh,
2024 of Transformer
something that
related?
came out in 2024. Yeah.
I
Well,
can't answer these yet because I'm saving that for tomorrow with Josdy. We'll talk
yeah.
2024. um,
Is it what is Tidal Wave this
oh
year?
yeah, that's
Yeah,
this year.
then it's
Yeah.
Tidal Wave. The one I got my eye on for probably next year is that new Optimus.
Oh gosh. Oh, here's a spoiler. That's gonna make my list. I haven't even touched it
Yeah,
yet.
yeah. And I'm not necessarily Optimus centric, but I am Japanese robot
Yeah,
centric,
that is
and I
brave as fuck. That is
Yeah, I love
Yusha as fuck.
yeah, I love that vibe. So that'll be
Yeah,
next year's high on next year's list. Tidal Wave's pretty cool. Um, trying to think. Um,
trying to think of stuff you would
I
like.
kind of like the Sergeant Slaughter GI Joe combo.
Oh, the cup one, yeah, the triple
Um,
T.
I appreciate the effort. You know, the vehicle is GI Joe scaled and everything. I like that one. That was this year, right?
The little, yeah, that was this year. The little Energon Megatron, tiny one.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
one. You got that. The Galvatron. I'm trying to think of ones that you would have liked that are kind of in
Yeah, I can
your
easily say Vector
wheelhouse.
Prime, but I'm not going to put Vector Prime high on the
Yeah.
list because he's a partial retool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. That one. That was the G axis.
He'd be higher
Uh,
on the list otherwise.
let's see. I'm trying to think of others you would have dug, because there's a few like United had, which is Legacy United had like that had the Hot Shot was in there. There's that one, which is
Thundertron's good,
yeah. Thundertron is in there too. Yeah, they had two different toolings.
but not everybody, not everybody appreciates Thundertron for very.
Yeah. Well, that's something again. We did again. We'll plug Toy Armada. We did a whole segment talking about Thundertron and a character created to tell a story. And again, in his case, it was more of a book, if anything, as opposed to let's
Yeah,
say media. If he would have been in media, it would have that's something you could have this discussion 100 times. But it's the power of media and how a character is influenced by it, and why do people care about Bludgeon as opposed to why don't people care about, let's say, I don't know, Octo Punch, or something. And it's because Bludgeon had a really good story told through Simon Furman through comics. Or why do we care about Adrift or something? Because those platforms created those characters and we create
yeah.
connections with them. Thundertron, if he would have had one of those platforms, we probably would have been talking about him more and
Well,
celebrating him more.
because the opposite can be true. We talked about how terrible the Wheelie product is,
Mm,
but he had books. Wheelie was an interesting character back in the day who
yep,
had real kind of different life, right, than most
yep,
of the robots. And we appreciate Wheelie for Wheelie, even though we look at that product and go, eh,
yeah,
you know.
and
It works both ways, If you could have an awesome dude, but if he doesn't have a story, he's about the same. I
yep.
mean,
Cybertron Starscream, someone said too. That one also, yeah, got an update. Which Galaxy Force Optimus. How many characters besides the top 7 of Generations Figure Studio Series? Lockdown is the only one I could think of. What was this? How many characters besides the top 7 got Generations figures and Studio Series? Um, I mean, there's a lot of characters that are getting updates. It's just you can't. It's the same thing like whenever a movie comes out and they go, "Why wasn't XYZ character?" And you can't do everything at once. And when you're a company that's all about like, hey, we gotta have really good, you know, we have to have really good stock numbers every quarter. So you got to plan it out. Hey, we'll put this really hot character and get those numbers and everything. And again, I'm oversimplifying it because not everything falls on Transformers. It's also all the other brands. But you can't do everything at once. So it's something where all of those characters that you want, especially the no shock popular ones, they'll happen sooner or later. There's no surprise with those. T Formers 2000. Yeah, I sent Aaron that mini Legacy Energon Megs for Christmas. Oh, there you go. That was last year. Yeah, it's true. The Galvatron was this year. So for Transformers 1, Pax found the record of the Matrix and the Primes as told by Alpha Trion, but as soon as they were betrayed, he was defeated. So how did the recording come about? Um, I mean, if you want to get deep into lore, he has the quill, which gives him the ability to record stuff, you know, on another plane of existence almost. Because I've always felt like the primes, even though they die, they still live on almost as force ghosts, in a sense, in the Matrix. So you kind of have that. Tom Laney, like I had an onslaught from the movie, but nobody knows, but we all know Onslaught is from G1. Oh, okay, I see what you're talking about. Yeah, like the movie Onslaught. Well,
yeah.
Yeah, the
We did
quill.
so many characters, we might as well throw in those little zingers, right? You know.
Yeah. No possibility for reissues like Generations Lugnut. That damn toy is now $300 on eBay. The Lugnut is a classic example of late wave product that just didn't have population. That was, correct me if I'm wrong, Reveal the Shield Wave 2, Wave 3, and it came out at a time when you can't predict it unanimously. Every retailer's like, "Hey, we're still stuck with Wave 1. We're not going to order many cases of wave 2 and 3." And yeah, wait, some people do order cases of it, but that's why then you end up with a lug nut that only so many units are out there. And
It
unfortunately,
is the most frustrating thing as someone who's watched wave after wave of launches happen, and my friends, we talk about it, they overship every this happens with every brand, every launch. They overship wave 1. Wave 2 barely has time to get to the shelves because there's still a glut of wave
of wave
1.
1.
And then whether it's wave 3 or wave 4 that's in development, um, might wave 3 might trickle out, and wave 4 is like the ghost, right? And the people
Yep.
know about it, but it never came out. Wave 3, it only came out in Argentina, and it's like you hear so many stories like that over and over and over, and we would just sit there and go,
Yeah.
why are we over shipping wave 1? Like, because I also talk about the development of these toys. By the time you get those first wave guys done, you know how to do these features, you know what's making them unique and sing, and whatever concept we were trying to do, whether it was this kind of transformation or this kind of materials process, you figured it out after wave 1. And wave 2 products are usually the best. Wave 3 are even better, and those are the ones that never see the light of day. And you've seen it over and over, and it's so frustrating.
And you're right, and it's not just even Transformers. There's so many toy lines where it's like, oh, what's the rarest figures, and it's always the last wave stuff. That because, like you mentioned, Argentina, or it's like, oh, hey, like these Dark of the Moon toys for whatever reason, they were only available in Hong Kong. They were only available in Australia because those were the
Yeah,
only people that were willing to pick it up. We have this inventory. We got to do something with it, you know. And it seems like Australia in this Lawson's is the only one that wants to carry it, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's and then it ends up being this coveted item. And Lugnut is a classic example of, I think, that first wave of Reveal the Shield with, I believe it was Jazz and a few others. It was just so top ended, and then the desirable guys, the I think Highbrow was part of that, which was, I have him nearby. One moment, let me just grab him because it's a fantastic, fantastic mold. But it was the that World War II kind of biplane, like this one too. If I remember correctly, this goes for like $150 or something today, maybe even more.
yeah,
Just because, again, late wave, fantastic figure, absolutely fantastic figure. Has these little, like, you know, spinning biplane, like gorgeous, and the robot mode, like the head has a mast that goes down like the old World War II biplane pilots. It's fantastic figure, but unfortunately, late wave. So how many of them are out there? And then, the fans unfortunately suffer for it because what does exist. And if anyone knows how, I always define rarity and value based on population and demand, so if there's not a lot of it out there, but people want it, it unfortunately suffers. And I mean, there's a lot of animated toys that suffer from that too. Like, people really want to have, Blackout from the Japanese region and forget about that.
so Decepticitty wants to know what the story with the decals are on that plane. that
Oh,
plane
uh,
that plane was driven or piloted by Jared Wade's grandfather or great grandfather, and that's why that plane was made, because he wanted to honor a relative of some sort. I don't know about the back decals, but I'm guessing the P10 uh, is probably related to his grandfather's service.
absolutely. Again, I know it's expensive, but fantastic figure. Absolutely insanely good figure. And again, such a shame that it's like price walled behind, it having no distribution properly. Yeah, and they used it for Obsidian afterwards for the BotCon exclusive Machine Wars. I think they used it for something else too. There was another figure they did. I think it was G2 homage. They did something. Aaron, did you work with Livio much?
No,
Love
we
his art
mostly,
style. He
yeah,
said, love his art
mostly.
style.
There's two. So there's two camps when I was working with people. I'm working with technical artists, so industrial designers usually. Um, so sometimes the comic book artists didn't we didn't use them as much uh, because I talk about these things have to become physical 3D,
Hmm.
and some creators have that training and others don't. I'm not saying that's the case with Livia, but I really focused on a particular set of skills, and that's why you don't see a lot of the comic artists. Like I didn't really work with
Hallie.
Alex,
Oh,
you
Alex
know,
Milne. Yeah, yeah,
you
Alex
know,
would have been a great
to
one. Yeah.
develop the toy product. He got work from packaging, but the toy development, I didn't need. I say this not dismissively, but I didn't need pretty pictures. I needed concepts and ideas, and different people do
A
different
different
things.
skill set.
Yeah,
Yeah.
different skill sets. So as a result, I didn't work with a lot of the IDW creators beyond Marcelo, who was already working with us. Um, so there you go.
No, and it makes sense. I mean, it's something where, people always think, oh, how do I get into the toy industry? And you've said it before, your answer back when you started is a different answer today, you know? And as a result of that, like sometimes the answer back then still permeates today and people think it could be applied, but you're looking for a different skill set for something. You don't need a guy who could draw really well, like you said. You need someone who could envision,
Well, toys
spacing.
again. We'll echo what we keep talking about. This being fashion. Um, Somebody who was really proficient and skilled at only drawing G1 perfectly wasn't going to give me Cybertron Optimus in any new way.
Mm, yeah,
You, some artists are limited by what they think is the real. Others like to create out of whole cloth, and so there's different skill sets there. I never needed someone to just often draw, and that's why I would go to Don maybe the perfect G1 Optimus for 20th anniversary. Draw me the perfect Optimus. Okay, that makes sense. But I couldn't probably go to some artists and say make me the perfect Cybertron Optimus.
yeah.
You have to go to a designer who knows how to, oh, these things will move this way and I need them to do some stuff and the features this and the costing to do that would be too much. So I have to do it this way. If you don't know all that stuff, you're going to draw things that are going to be uh,
A disappointment later.
troublesome in
Yeah.
various ways. Who they will be troublesome to is a debate, like the costing, the buyer, the receipt, the kid, there's a lot of different ways that can get fouled up. But that's why you use particular types of people, maybe more so than others. Again, I'm not trying to disrespect anybody. These
Oh
are
no, of
different
course
skills
not.
that
Well,
people
it's something like, especially like I imagine working with the Takara guys. They're like cued into that. Like I imagine working with like a Shogo Hasui, who's done like Titan classes and masterpieces, and that's someone that's all about knowing spacing, knowing walls. Like he's probably like, it's like the meme, like thinking in 3D in a whole other way. Um, what do we got here? Mike Prime 21. Hey Proto, do you think down the road we could get a G1 Omega Supreme at a new price point and scale with the new combiners? I'm sure animated would come before, but do you think that could happen? Yes, I do, primarily because if you do an Omega Supreme, that's like, let's say, even a deluxe class, as silly as that sounds, you could do an Omega Supreme, which is the Action Master Elite, which I could show you guys. It's behind the hot rod there, but very weird price point. It's the same thing. Like you could do a small Scorponok because there is small Scorponok versions of that character from the comic books. Large characters could be small. You could do a small Metroplex. You could do a small Fort Max. It's always how you write it. You know, it's always how you write. You could look. You could do a big, Grimlock. Look, we have leader class Grimlocks now. there was once a time where like you would have never thought that, oh, you're going to get all the Dinobots and they're all going to be leader classes. When we started classics, Grimlock was a deluxe, and now
We
we've
did a
gone.
Unicron Deluxe.
Yeah, that tank spider tank one there. Yeah, from Cybertron.
That's got me written all over it, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, 100. Well, it's got horns. It's got weirdness going on. A lot of stuff sticking out. It's
Spikes,
got it's
those
got a
spikes.
monster element in the face. It's not Unicron per se because it's got more of a skull look to it. You know. What was another question I saw? Aaron, are you talking about the Eternals that are forever at Ollie's? Yeah, well,
Yeah,
there's
well,
there's a few. Me and Jaws D talk about it a lot. We call it the racism in the toy industry, and we're not saying the creators. We're saying certain toys just seem to never stick the landing of a certain melanin. Me and Jaws D will always say, and when we go to like not so much Ollies, we have something here called Winners, and we're always like, certain things just seem to not do well. And Jaws D, by the way, is of African descent. Actually, is Trinidadian, but um, and we just always knows that. And like Eternals was a good example. Black Panther, the sequel with the Shuri copter. Uh, what was another one that he mentioned? Because he notices it more than I do, but he always points it out. He's like, "Man, now this isn't doing well." Like what was it that he mentioned? Shang-Chi. Those for some reason just no one was buying those toys. Like there's certain again, I always ask, it's like, who is asking for it? And it's not I'm not saying I don't I'm not if I would want like I would want a nice vintage Mandarin figure or something with the original rings, but that's because I'm an old school Marvel head guy. But who wants that stuff? Who wants there's the guys who want the really nice, like you call it, the replica 6-inch Marvel Legends representing the movie. But then who wants the gimmicky spinning fist, button on the back? Like I think, and it's not just Hasbro, I think a lot of toy companies need to really realize that I think that market is starting to really disappear. And even
Well,
the
it needs to push younger. It needs to be in that rescue bots kind of
Yeah,
zone
you
where
can't.
featured play lives now. You know,
Yeah, you could have featured play with Paw Patrol. You could have featured play with that stuff. But by the time the kid is able to watch a Shang-Chi or a Marvel movie, I think they want even the replica. You know what I mean? I think
yeah.
they're almost wanting something if they're even interested in toys at all, in my opinion. So it's
The
it
well, I've been talking. This is my go-to guy now with the agent Jimmy Woo from Ant Man.
Oh yes, yes, yeah.
You know, you know, guy guy in suit.
Mm.
Funny in the movies. Needed character for the universe to kind of function the way it wants to function. That's great. But why do we need him in plastic? Who needs him to complete their perfect 6-inch collection?
He's
Nope,
a
nobody.
classic 3-pack character. Like the only way you're getting him to exist or anyone to buy him is because he's packaged with someone that people want, and
Yeah,
that's the only way.
but,
Like it.
but we it's not just the Eternals where a movie fails. It's also you can have popular movies and you pick that one of the why
Oh yeah,
him?
oh yeah.
Why not him? Why not make Ti? At that point,
We go all the
um,
way back to the very first shell former. Shout out to the Rancor Rancor keeper, because
keeper.
that's
Yeah,
that's my I have perfect memory, and I'm not I was literally born when Return of the Jedi came out, but years later, as like maybe a 5 or 6 year old, and just this wall of Rancor keeper, and just going like, wow, no one really likes that bald fat guy, and just like there's certain characters that, and look, you can't say Star Wars was not successful, but no one wanted that guy, you know, because he was so
you
memorable in the movie, crying on the arm of the. That's about all I can remember about him.
I
You know,
remember seeing a wall of Bumblebee keychains back in the G1 days.
mm, interesting. Bumblebee
But
keychains.
the original, not keychains, but that scale they used for keychains.
Okay,
The
so the
original,
the, the penny racer
yeah, the
Microman. Yeah,
original
okay,
one.
yeah.
Like again, sometimes if a toy company has the tooling available, they will overship something just to fill the shelf with what they need, right? And they'll deal with it
Well,
later, it seems.
I'm sure even something as successful as Transformers, they'll always have a figure that, there's just too many of that one. And also G1, what people tend to not realize is they were shipping a lot of the same characters, all year round. It's not like us. We have a Q1, here's wave 1, wave 2, wave 3. Series 1, 1984 is like 18 figures. We wish we had a Transformer line that had only 18 figures a year, you know? So you would see Bumblebee in 85 product, 86 product. It would carry over. And again, it's a different world today. Like there's no adult collectors. It's only really kids that are buying, and obviously parents that are buying for presents. So it's a whole different animal and how that's tackled. Where's I saw a really good question. Don't bring Dawn on the stream, at least to talk about the leader class bomber Megatron. I keep hearing that story where apparently, and this is where Dawn is a little, unfortunately, unhappy with something with Hasbro, where they used one of his designs, I think, in one of the comics or one of the toys. I guess the bomber Megatron that came out in the deluxe class. I don't know. That's probably him working with IDW and something not going the way it was. The only reason I got the Agent Woo was a build a figure, and it was cheaper than getting the figure. That's another way that they do an undesirable figure. They make it the build a figure. You know, it's like you're not gonna, you don't, we're not gonna do an Agent Woo, but we'll give you his left arm with Deadpool. Like, and then if you end up getting a complete one because you got Deadpool and I don't know Odin and Blob and whatever that wave was, makes sense. In Australia, we had Yak Face as the peg warmer. Interesting.
Wow.
That's always, yeah.
That's a
But
valuable peg warmer.
yeah, I was about to say that's a peg warmer I'd welcome. Miss Marvel merch also at Ollie's. Well, again, it's to me. There's a lot of stuff when I take the trip to the States and I go to Ollie's. There's a lot of merch that it's cool stuff, but it's also overproduced. You know, it's stuff that like there's a lot of the wrestling stuff that it's like it's stuff that I know any wrestling fan probably already owns it, but they just made too much of it. And then as a result, it's like, like you just mentioned Bumblebee. Are you going to say Bumblebee is not a popular character? Of course
Yeah,
not.
too much
It's
of it.
just there was just too much of it. And I mean, Bumblebee suffered from that uh, in the movies. Like we had the wall of bumblebees at one point. Anyone, the fandom back in 2009, 2010, 2011, we called it the Hive, where there was too much bumblebee product on the shelves at one point. There was a Tumblr account that was dedicated to taking photos of that. That was just dedicated to here's all this sea of yellow, bumblebee masks, bumblebee deluxes. Because at one point it was Transformers Prime, Dark of the Moon, and I want to say I think maybe it was like remnants of leftovers of Revenge of the Fallen, and it was all just Bumblebee. Because here's what you said before: a reaction. Did we think Bumblebee was going to be as huge as we thought he was for 2007? And then the course correction is, well, now we got to double down on him.
Well, this tips into one of my core theses about um, we used to, these products that we all love are misplaced love of what the shows and the characters and the voices and the action, and we have we used to be in love with the movie. I want to play that movie after the fact. I'm going to go buy some products, and they would supply that kind of because it was big, and it has opportunity. Now it's baked into the cake that we're going to make toys from the outset before we even know if the Marvels is going to be something people care about, or if the Eternals is going to be something people care about. They plan for ultimate success and revenue potential, not at no point do they
Regardless
ask
of
the
success.
question,
Yeah.
do does anybody desire this?
Yeah.
You know, and something has changed in the whole dynamic with how entertainment rolls out, where you can buy stuff, all of it, to the point where they are way ahead of their skis on a lot of these properties. because they've already bent the deal, they've already invested, or this is what the partner wants. Because again, I say it's a lot about the promotion of the thing, um, versus even the caring about the thing. It's the promotion of the Eternals because there's stuff on shelf. They don't care if it sells almost. It's there though. We're big time, and
Mm.
it's gotten all kind of mushed up in times because there's a lot of movies that just don't need as much product as they get,
Ton
as
tons of
much
them.
at launch as they seem to get,
A
or they try to extend it longer than it needs to extend.
a few that I could think of, like, and they were movies I enjoyed, but it's like, did Tron Legacy need all of that stuff? Like, and there was a lot. There was 3-inch figures, 12-inch figures, die cast line. There was like a whole bunch of, and I ate it up because I love Tron, but it's like I didn't need all this LED light stuff, And then they did role play items, and then another one, another movie I loved, but did Speed Racer need all of that when they did that 2008 movie? Great movie, but Legos, they even had Lego sets. Lego sets, they did die-cast cars, so they did stuff tie-ins with Hot Wheels. They had 3-inch line, 4-inch line, 5-inch line, all kinds of gimmicky stuff because they thought this movie was going to be, whatever they thought in their mind it was going to be. I was going to show up because I just like Speed Racer, but they thought it was going to be like a
Yeah,
big Disney movie or something where
yeah. Another one that's more recent is the Lightyear movie,
yeah.
because they thought they had a character people would come to see. They changed it big enough that people didn't. Had its own story and designs and whatever it was. They planned for ultimate success. They had different scales of vehicles, partnerships with Lego, um, die cast, the whole thing, for a movie that no one really knew if it was going to resonate yet, and
Mm.
it didn't. And then all that product's there, and it's a cool product. Those spaceships are cool, but again, it kind of built for no one,
Well,
and then they're gonna end up in closeouts
and
and
I could almost forgive Lightyear in the sense that when, if you're someone who's like, well, this is based in something that prior to that was about toys, you know?
yeah.
It's based in so like, and if you look, and if you're any executive, you're going, well, look how well Toy Story did before. So clearly this spin-off of Toy Story, and again, you could go into the semantics of what this movie is really about and how it's selling a story, but I mean, I've always felt, and I like using Infinity War as an example because it was something I got to see in real time with my non-toy collector friends. They would go see Marvel movies, and these were people that didn't buy toys. These weren't people that bought comic books. They didn't buy toys. They were as far removed as what you could call a nerd. And they left Infinity War, and then it just so happens the movie theater that we went to see the movie in had a Walmart in that mall. And so Protoman being Protoman, I just need to check out the toy section. Can we just like I just gotta swing by, guys. Don't we'll go eat after, but I just need to, old habits die hard. But I went into the toy aisle and here I am looking at, TF section, GI Joes, and my buddy who never buys toys is looking hard at that Thanos figure now after he just saw Infinity War. And I'm going like, and I almost like had a little creeped on the side of my lip of smiling, going like, "You want to buy it, don't you?" Because here's someone who historically didn't buy toys. A grown adult guy who, why would he have plastic replica of Purple Dude in his living room? But that movie resonated with him, and now he's like, "Oh, Daniel Protoman, Daniel buys these replicas of these characters he covets. I really like this guy. He really resonated with me in this movie, and he was the villain, and he was smart, and
That's how it should be. Like, I
yeah,
am so engaged with this characterization, or how cool that guy looks or is or was in
yeah,
the thing, that I think it's badass or
yeah.
cool, and that's why I want to put it on my desk or play with it as a younger kid, or recreate
And
the story again and again and again.
and what was
Um,
amazing was it wasn't even like a Marvel Legends one. It was like those 12-inch, like 5 point of articulation ones. Which, but to be fair. if I showed you a photo of it, like, and you ignored its articulation, it's just a nice. It looked like like Josh Brolin or whatever. It looked like the actor. It was a good looking, simple, articulated figure. And he was like, he to him, because he doesn't care. He's not a toy collector, so he doesn't think about articulation or this and that. To him, it's like it's just going to stand like this at his desk at work or
Yeah,
something, you know.
because he's
And
not going to play with it. You
yeah,
know,
and he does like to him, he doesn't know that it has like a light up feature or if it has like a backpack or to him, it's just going to stand like that. It's going to have the gauntlet. That's badass, you know, like, and he bought it, you know, he bought, and I was like, wow, like, and to me, that was a moment. It was just going like, wow, it's like it really shows how you could really turn the tide, even with someone who is 100% not part of our hobby, you know? And yet if it's just cool enough,
so
you know?
we had a concept of that a little bit in general in toy design, where we knew some of these items maybe wouldn't go to kids because they were nostalgic enough usually,
Mm,
right? We called them desk trophies, items that a person in a profession of some sort can feel confident enough that this looks cool or is hefty or nostalgic to I could put that on my desk with my law books and it looks like something I'm into, not a little toy on a shelf. You know, and there were those kind of items out there that became desk trophies to like a different set of buyer.
yeah, no, it totally makes sense, and it's I saw that a lot as all this stuff started to become hip, you know, like, it's like when you worked on that 100th Batman, that was almost like a product too early for its time. Like, that today would be celebrated. That's the desk trophy item, but it came out at a time when, you know.
You'd be surprised. I mean, it is a long time ago now. It was actually pretty well celebrated
Oh, I loved
in
it.
in the vernacular that was existing at the time, the magazines and the. I did a big promo at the relaunch of the Warner Brothers store with it.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
so it actually, and we did 100 Batman display at the first Comic Con booth that
Oh,
Hasbro
really?
did.
Okay.
Had all 100 Batman at the time. So it actually
It
it
wait, hold on, back it up because this is so you had all the different 100 Batmans physically there too?
yeah, we had a pyramid.
Oh my god, that would have been someone. Oh god, I hope someone took a photo of that. That would have
Oh,
been amazing.
there's photos. There's
Oh, I
photos
gotta
of it.
find that. Okay.
Yeah, I set that
I
bad boy
I
up.
I have I have a weird nostalgia for that figure just because I have so many memories of seeing that at Zeller's. Like, it stuck around for a bit. It was
Yeah,
such a
yeah.
unique packaged item. But yeah. Um we're just what we're at the 2 hour mark, so we're just gonna do two more questions and then we'll kind of like wrap it up here. So Airy Nuts with the $2 super chat. Any hopes for the Transformers Hot Wheels collaborations? Any specific characters? Any G1 guys? I mean, I'd like to just see. You know, I'm not going to go with the obvious answer of a hot rod, but I mean, I'd see. It'd be nice to see the Datsun brothers. You know, done in. You know, done it. But I'm pretty sure, and I'm not a big Hot Wheels dude, but I'm pretty sure there's probably a couple of Datsun Z Hot Wheels that are already exist in blue
Yeah.
and silver. So I could almost
Put the
kind of
T
do it.
tops on those.
Oh, well, the Countach. I'm pretty sure there's a red Countach from the '80s that's been done by Mattel at some point. But yeah, you know, obviously the hot rods and some of the more weirder designs, like the all of those ones that are not licensed cars from that Fluoro Deary era. And then of course, what's for dinner, Aaron Archer? Uh,
I don't really know. I'm probably gonna go up and make a sandwich of some sort. Nothing fancy.
I had already ate had Angus steak, bok choy, and a giant roll of cheese bread that was cut up with onions on it. Very good. Um, tomorrow, I do not know. I do not know. And I believe we will call it quits aside. What we'll do before we end it, because this is our end of year little live stream. It's our last live stream of the year. Aaron, what are you thankful for this year? What were some good memories this year? Conventions, stuff with the family, anything you could think of before we call it quits?
Yeah, no, I've still marvel at the popularity of the instruction art that I've been doing, and continue to engage with fans that way, and appreciate all of those. Getting into the paintings, and I think selling that painting at Baltimore of the Unicron planet was really cool.
Every
Just
single
I work
artist,
on these things in a vacuum for no real reason,
every
right?
single artist was so envious that weekend. Yeah.
And so I'm thankful that my art is doing well. Family's doing good. The move has been mostly successful. Still trying to, you know, bring more money in, but that's what I tend to have a positive view all the time. I don't, life is full of little ups and downs every day. In the aggregate,
Mm-hmm.
we're doing good. So I'm happy for that.
Awesomeness. Awesomeness. Well, guys, we're going to call it quits for today. Thank you for joining us for the past 2 hours and talking robots and toys and everything. I like that it was a good mix of a little bit of everything. Again, I'll put it up on the screen before we go. So Aaron does have a Patreon. Let me pull that up. I mean, the one that address on.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody joining in. Keep the dialogue going.
Oh, wow. What
I
happened
can
there?
still hear you.
Really? Oh, maybe something happened when I was clicking around. Did I just do a whole big rant of wholesomeness on nothing? All I wanted to say, thank you guys. Thank you for the love and support and all the greatness. Everyone's. I guess you guys can hear me now. I hope, right? Did we lose me? Did we lose me? Protoman dropping bars and no one could hear him. Oh no. Yeah. That's what always happens. I'm back. All right. I just want to say, guys, thank you for all the love and support. Like I created this podcast many years ago to be, you know, an educational platform, a positive platform. And, I like to surround myself with positive people and creative people. And Mr. Over here is just one big part of that. So it's something where I'm just glad to have you guys around and everything. And again, the positive fans too. You guys want to learn. And sometimes I feel like people don't want to learn. So it's nice to have people that do want to learn about the industry and learn how something they're so passionate about, how it's made instead of just blindly accepting, some of the silliness in it. But thank you all for the love and support. Again, if you guys didn't hear, me and Josdy will have something tomorrow for you guys. We have the top 5 Transformers of 2024 that me and Josdy are going to be doing together. Hopefully, we'll have that either up tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. And then we're going to be chilling for the holiday season for New Year's, which everyone should just be hanging out with their family and just enjoying the rest of the year before we go into 2025. Take care, everybody. Thank you, Aaron, for being here.
Thank you.
And we
Thanks,
and
everybody.
we will call it quits for the night. Thank you all, and as always, roll out.